Okay, so imagine for a second that I came to you with a can't miss investment. I look you right in the eye and say, put $1 into this black box, and I guarantee you get $23 back.
Yeah.
You'd probably call security, right? Or at least assume I'm pitching some, high-risk crypto scheme that's going to implode by next Tuesday.
Oh, absolutely, naturally.
Yeah.
In the financial markets, a 23-to-1 return is, well, it's a huge red flag for a Ponzi scheme.
Exactly. But what if I told you this isn't Wall Street, it's not tech stocks, it's actually youth mentoring? Specifically, how these programs inside community centers are quietly reshaping the economic fabric of our cities. Today, we're unpacking a really fascinating case study that suggests the Humble Community Center might just be the highest yield asset a city has.
It is a staggering statistic, and I'm glad you started there. A social return on investment, an SROI, of $23 for every single dollar spent. That is the headline from the research we're getting into today.
Right. We are looking at a publication titled Nuns Island Youth Mentoring from wikiresidence.ca and Infodrone.ca. And the mission for this deep dive is to unpack how a building where kids, play basketball or whatever, transforms into what the source calls a social laboratory. But I have to be honest, social laboratory, that sounds a little like buzzword bingo to me. Is there something really there?
It's a fair skepticism.
Yeah.
I mean, we often think of urban development in terms of the hard stuff, right?
Yeah.
Concrete, steel, roads.
Sure. A bridge.
A bridge, exactly. You can measure its value by how many cars cross it. But this research, it really pushes us to look at social infrastructure. We're going to look at a project in Montreal on Nuns Island, L'Île des Sœurs. And the argument is that connecting generations does more than just keep kids busy. It actually drives economic stability, mental health, and, believe it or not, real estate value.
Okay, I'm still a little stuck on social infrastructure, but let's ground this in the place first. Nuns Island. For anyone who doesn't know Montreal, it's a very distinct spot. It's a peaceful residential island just off the main island, pretty insulated. And right in the middle of it is the Elgar Community Center.
That's the one, 260 Elgar Street. And you're right to point out the setting. Nuns Island is almost like a control group in an experiment because it's so self-contained.
And the star of this particular show is a program called Les Petits Mentors, the Little Mentors.
Yes, and we have to credit the person who started it, Rosie Kirilova. What she launched here isn't just some drop-in program where you toss a basketball into a gym and hope for the best.
It's structured.
Highly structured.
Okay, so paint the picture for us. What's actually happening inside the Elgar Center on a typical afternoon? Because mentoring usually makes me think of, like, a corporate suit giving career advice. This is different.
Very different. The Little Mentors program is peer-to-peer, but with a specific age gap. You have young mentors, adolescents, supervising and guiding even younger children. And they aren't just, running around. The source details specific activities.
Like what?
Developing fine motor skills, preparing simple meals together, arts and crafts.
Wait, preparing meals.
Absolutely.
So you have, like, a 12-year-old teaching a 6-year-old how to make a sandwich.
Essentially, yes. And that sounds simple, I know, but think about the mechanics of that. It's not just about the sandwich. It's about communication and patience and safety.
Okay, but I have to play devil's advocate here. To a cynic, that still sounds a lot like babysitting with extra steps. How is that a social laboratory?
That's the crucial distinction, right? If it were just babysitting, it'd be a service. But because it involves skill transfer, teaching a younger child how to hold a utensil, how to coordinate their movements, it becomes educational for both of them.
For both.
Yes. The mentor learns leadership, responsibility, empathy. The mentee learns the actual skill. It changes the whole dynamic from just watching to building.
So it's seeing the community center as a place for work, in a way. Not a job, but the work of developmental growth.
Exactly. The source uses that term social laboratory because they're testing and refining these human interactions. The building isn't just a container for leisure anymore. It's infrastructure to foster these intergenerational skill transfers.
Which brings us right back to that mind-blowing number we started with, that $23, the SROI.
It's a social return on investment.
Yeah, I want to drill down on this because if I'm a city councilor, I'm not seeing a check for $23 deposited into the city's account every time a kid learns to whisk an egg. Is this just funny math? How do they get there?
No, it's not cash in hand. It's an actuarial calculation.
Yeah.
It's based on value generated and, maybe more importantly, costs avoided. Think about the invisible ledger of a city. If a program stabilizes youth behavior, you get lower truancy rates. That saves the school system money. Better health outcomes. That saves the healthcare system money. Less vandalism saves on policing.
So it's avoided cost accounting.
Partially. But the bigger piece is actually future value. You are creating future economic contributors. And the source points out that the funding for this stuff is a cocktail.
A cocktail.
Yeah, a mix of municipal funds, provincial funds, private donations. It's not just one taxpayer footing the bill.
Which usually means everyone wants a piece of the success.
Or that no one can afford it alone. But the government is clearly signaling they see the value. The report points to the 2024-2025 Quebec provincial budget. It allocated record sums to this area.
And I saw a specific number about entrepreneurship in the notes.
You did. An extra $9 million over 3 years just for youth entrepreneurship support. And at the regional level, to give you a comparison, the Rosemont area got nearly $900,000 for a prevention program.
$9 million is serious money. That's not pocket change. It suggests they're not just seeing this as charity.
No, it's a strategic pipeline. And here's the why behind that. The source explicitly mentions employability. Mentored youth are 17% more likely to hold stable employment later in life.
17%. That number really jumped out at me.
It's massive in macroeconomic terms.
But why? I mean, what is it about showing a kid how to do arts and crafts that makes them 17% more likely to hold down a job at 25?
It's those soft skills we touched on. If you're a 14-year-old mentor responsible for a 7-year-old, you have to show up on time. You have to communicate clearly. You have to manage conflict when that kid throws a tantrum.
Right.
Those are exactly the skills employers complain that young people lack today.
So the community center is basically a pre-workforce training ground, just disguised as a playroom.
You could absolutely put it that way. You are securing the city's economic future by making sure the next generation has the executive function to be productive. That's where the bulk of that $23 return comes from.
It's playing the long game. Okay, let's pivot a bit, because it's not just about turning kids into efficient taxpayers. The source goes pretty heavily into the human impact. And honestly, some of these stats hit even harder than the dollar signs.
I agree. The economic argument gets the budget approved, but the social impact is what changes the neighborhood. Let's start with mental health. The report says that 98% of the youth involved report increased confidence in their decision-making.
98%? I mean, come on. That's statistically suspicious, isn't it? That's basically everyone, and we're talking about teenagers, a group defined by insecurity.
It is an overwhelming number, I grant you. But think about the mechanism. In school or sports, a teen is usually being told what to do by an adult. Run here, study this.
Right.
In Les Petits Mentors, the teen is the authority figure. They are the one making the call. It gives them agency.
So when a little kid looks up to you, you instinctively stand a little taller.
Exactly. And to have a program where almost every single participant walks away trusting their own judgment more, that can change the entire trajectory of a life. It reduces anxiety.
And it's not just internal confidence, it's about who they know, the network effect.
Yes.
The source mentions 87% of them develop a solid support network outside their immediate family.
I think this is the most underrated point in the entire report.
Why do you say that?
Because we always talk about diversifying your financial portfolio, right? Don't put all your money in one stock.
Sure.
Well, a kid's social portfolio is usually super undiversified. It's mom, dad, maybe a sibling. If that home environment is stressful or limited, the kid is just stuck.
That's a fascinating way to put it. So this program diversifies their social capital.
Precisely. Now they have a relationship with the program coordinator, with other mentors, with the parents of the younger kids.
Yeah.
That's resilience. It's a buffer. If things go wrong at home, they have other adults they can turn to.
Now, here's where it got really interesting for me, especially about Nuns Island, the cultural integration piece.
Yes.
Montreal is a very multicultural city, but often that just means people living next to each other, not really interacting.
The salad bowl versus the melting pot idea.
Right. But the Elgar Center seems to be actively stirring the pot. The source notes that songs and activities happen in Bulgarian, Portuguese, Russian, and Arabic.
It's so unique, isn't it? Usually integration programs focus strictly on the official language. Here, they embrace the heritage languages.
So you could walk into this community center and hear a Russian lullaby or an Arabic game being played.
That's the aha moment for social cohesion. By welcoming those languages, they foster this rapid integration of immigrant families.
It makes the community center a real hub.
Totally. If you're a new immigrant parent and you see your culture respected and represented there, you don't feel like an outsider. You feel like a stakeholder. It turns the building into a bridge.
So we've got the Elgar Center as this shining example, But the source is clear. This isn't just one lucky building. This is part of a bigger picture.
It is. The Elgar Center is part of a rapidly expanding network in Greater Montreal. Over 20 major initiatives like this.
But they can't all be carbon copies, right? What works on a quiet, affluent island might not work everywhere.
And that's the key. The model adapts. Let's compare it to another example they mentioned, the Elliscale Youth Center in Montreal North.
Very different demographic. Montreal North has historically faced more challenges with poverty and violence.
Correct. So while the mechanism is the same, mentoring, the mission at Elliscale is specialized. It's about leadership development and resilience, hardening youth against negative influences.
So on Nuns Island, the flavor is community building. In Montreal North, it's protection.
Exactly. And then you have Go Jeunesse at Habitations Jean Mance in Center Sud. That's fascinating because it focuses on inclusion within social housing.
Right in the downtown core.
Yes, so the social laboratory is literally in their hallway. They're using mentoring to create a micro-community right there in the high-density housing.
And the source mentions others, too, like La Relance Jeunes et Famille, and, of course, Big Brothers, Big Sisters.
The historical leader, yeah. It's like this map of innovation across the city. Every neighborhood is tweaking the model to fit its needs.
Which leads to a conclusion in the source that, well, for the real estate skeptics out there, this is for you. These workshops actually increase the value of the surrounding real estate.
I was waiting for you to get to that.
Wait, really? A mentoring program raises my property value. I can see a new metro station doing that, but a Tuesday afternoon activity club.
It makes perfect sense if you follow the logic of the family-friendly ladle. The source argues they create desirable neighborhoods. If you're a parent looking to buy or rent, what are you looking for?
Schools, safety, parks.
And community. If you know that the local center has a high-quality program that will help your child develop, that neighborhood becomes a premium destination. Demand goes up.
So the programming inside the building makes the bricks and mortar of the houses around it worth more.
It's an investment in the physical city as much as the people. You can't separate them. A resilient generation secures the city's economic future, which stabilizes the housing market.
This has really shifted my whole perspective. I mean, I've walked past community centers 1,000 times. Usually I'm just checking if the pool's open. But hearing this, it's like looking at a power plant. You don't see the electricity being made, but it's powering everything.
That's a great analogy. You stop looking at the architecture and you start looking at the schedule.
Totally. So let's recap. We started with that $23 ROI.
A massive multiplier for social spending, driven by avoided costs and future tax revenue.
We looked at the Little Mentors experiment, kids helping kids, which creates a web of intergenerational skill transfer.
Turning the building into a social laboratory.
We saw the hard data government pouring millions in because it boosts employability by 17%.
And the social stats? 98% better confidence, 87% wider networks.
And finally, the cultural piece. Using culture to knit a neighborhood together, from a wealthy island to social housing.
All proving that social infrastructure is just as vital to the city's balance sheet as physical infrastructure.
So here's my takeaway. We complain about taxes, we wonder where the money goes, we see a pothole and we get angry. But if someone told me a chunk of the budget was going to a place like the Elgar Center to generate a 23-to-1 return, honestly, I'd say, take my money.
It's probably the smartest investment on the table. It's low risk, high reward, and the dividends are paid out as a safer, happier, more prosperous city.
It just challenges how we think about city building. We obsess over the skyline, the metro lines, but maybe the most important structural engineering is happening in a multi-purpose room with a toddler and a teenager making a sandwich.
That is the social laboratory in action. It's quiet, it's local, but the cumulative effect is transformative.
So here's a provocative thought for you to mull over. We usually assume that architects and developers create value. But if these mentoring programs can stabilize employment, integrate immigrants, and protect property values, should we be valuing the program director as highly as we value the architect?
It forces a tough question, doesn't it? If you build a luxury condo tower, but you cut the budget for the community space downstairs, have you actually lowered the long-term asset value of your own building?
Exactly. The programming isn't a perk. It might just be the property insurance.
A compelling argument.
Something to think about the next time you pass your local community center. Maybe pop your head in. You might be looking at the engine room of your neighborhood's economy. Thanks for diving deep with us today.
Always a pleasure.